Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Na szczęście. Today I'll be talking with my close friend Aldona, who is a huge fan of Eurovision. Hi.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, Europe. I've always dreamt to say this one.
Yeah, so I actually invited you over here because I was reading recently and I also listened to another podcast where they were talking about fandom and what it does to us. It wasn't strictly about an event that happens once a year. It was more about something that is constant. But I'm actually curious about how this one works for you, because the fact that we're meeting here today is only because you actually took a day off at your work to watch Eurovision and to celebrate it in a way, which to me it's completely crazy, but actually you're not the first person that I've heard of that was taking a paid day of vacation for this.
Well, yes. I know that in the fandom, I'm not the only one who takes off for Eurovision. But yes, this is an event which takes place once a year. And of course, there are different events from the circle of Eurovision, like Junior Eurovision, or different festivals in which the country's selector represent. But the Eurovision itself is only once a year. So for Eurovision heads, I think this is kind of a week to celebrate. I even sometimes not call it out loud, but in my head, I treat it as a sort of holiday that I plan to watch every year. And because it's the whole week, because right now when we have two semifinals, when we have it starts on Tuesday, then Thursday, and with a grand final on Saturday, generally it's a whole Eurovision week. And it starts the Sunday before with an official opening ceremony at the turquoise carpet. So it's literally a week, a Eurovision week. But I know that the community, even though they are especially active, of course, now, this Eurovision week, they are active all year long, because here we have Junior Eurovision, here we have different festivals like Melody Festivalen in Sweden or Sanremo in Italy, which are itself big festivals in their host countries. They are big events transmitted in the national TV and watched by its own audience. So there is a reason to be Eurovision head all year long, but this week we are getting especially active.
Do you watch any of those festivals?
No, I don't. And the reason for that is I generally don't like to watch the songs beforehand. Some of them I'm especially curious about, yes, but generally I keep them for the evening. I like to have my head fresh and to really await for that. I don't want to get myself bored with songs that I've already heard 2 times, 3 times, and really waiting for them to see them for the first time on stage.
I was wondering what Eurovision does to you. I mean, you already said that you kind of celebrated that you put it in your calendar as another holiday. And I was wondering what else does it do to you? Why are you a fan? That is my question. Why are you a fan of this? Because I know you, and I know that this is not really your kind of music.
It's not at all. But I would say it's this week of a year when I feel like I can get a little goofy, a little silly. I can get to listen to music I would never ever listen to if not Eurovision, and I can genuinely enjoy it still because it's so silly, it's so fun. I treat Eurovision as one great festival of fun and being together. And I once told you already that to me, 2 greatest achievements of Western civilizations are Olympic Games and Eurovision. Because these are huge events with huge budgets, and we do it only for fun. And we compete for fun of being together and doing something together and just, celebrate, do something to show we can be competitive, but in a funny way, not for anything. And these are events which are made just for fun, nothing else. And it's so refreshing.
I was also wondering what is it about Eurovision community that kind of brings you in, because what I was reading, what I was listening about, why is it worth to be a geek? A lot of people were pointing the fact that they are part of a group, that they are part of a certain community that accepts them the way they are, that accepts their weirdness, that they are actually happy that you are different. So I was wondering if that's the case in Eurovision community, and what is your experience with
Okay.
that?
I'm in a group called Eurovision Fans, and I think it's the biggest fandom group. It's like a Facebook group. It has over 60,000 members, and the group is active all year long, obviously, but this is the peak time for its activity, and people comment literally on anything. They would comment on all of those events, national selections. They would comment if anyone of the previous competitors I know gets pregnant or whatever they do in their life, what is interesting. They would comment on any scandals. They would just post randomly their own charts with their points. You know what? I think Albania is going for 12 points this year. I put it on the top of my chart. And people are like, no, I don't think so. They literally engaged in each other's scoreboards and commented and show their counter propositions, and they really engaged. That's so fun to watch how a song contest literally catches their attention. And when it comes to Polish communities, in my biggest gossip Facebook group I belong to, CSI Hyde Park, hello everyone. There are dedicated threads to comment on each Eurovision event. So I think there was a dedicated one for the turquoise carpet. There was the one for a semi-final, another semi-final, when people literally live engage into discussion and comments like, did you see her dress? Oh my god, oh, my kid is waiting for Europapa all night long. Do you know if it's last or first? And people write to her, it's the last one. Oh my god, my kid's not gonna go asleep for another 2 hours because he's waiting for Europapa. But this is what's happening, and people share those comments with strangers and actually engage while being very friendly. Because honestly, there is hate everywhere you can find hate, but 99% of this is super friendly, even if we agree to disagree. And it's so fun to see how strangers are engaging together in those comments to, simply share their thoughts or find someone who thinks like them. I really enjoyed.
Okay, do you engage?
I do.
Okay, you do.
I do. Yeah, we have, yesterday in a comment thread about this kid waiting for Europapa, which was the last song, so sadly the mama had to stay awake with her kid for 2 hours. We were commenting if we are Euromamas, because Europapa is the name of a song, and we are Euromamas, and our kids engage in Eurovision as well. I even show Eurovision to my son, which is, he's very little, he's just 4 years old. But actually, he has his favorite Eurovision piece, and I will tell you about it because it's hilarious. Back in 2013, Eurovision was moving from Azerbaijan to Sweden, and the opening scene for Eurovision in Sweden was a little caterpillar that wakes up in Azerbaijan, and it travels through the whole Europe, by boat, by train, and you see this caterpillar being on somebody's suitcase and traveling by train, and eventually they reach out to this huge bridge, which is between Malmö and Copenhagen. So eventually, caterpillar turns into a butterfly and flies over this bridge to enter the Malmö arena, and here the Eurovision begins. And my son is like, Mom, can we watch the Eurovision with Caterpillar? And we watch the scene over and over again. And he's like, wow, I love it. Where is the Caterpillar now? Is she watching the Eurovision? I'm like, yes, it is. So kids are also engaging.
Okay.
And it's so fun.
Does he watch Eurovision for kids?
No, but I will tell you what, for Euromamas, there is the YouTube channel called Lego Eurovision. It makes recap of Eurovision using the Lego blocks.
Oh
and actually they are recreating the stage and all of the characters and all of the people singing there, and you have a recap. It's not like a show of 4 hours long, but each of them gets their own 15 seconds. So also for kids, you can show Eurovision in Lego.
I'm not a fan of Eurovision, but right now I'm smiling. I mean, my cheeks are hurting. This is so funny, and as you said, it's goofy. It's just you come together to just play like kids, really.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But it's so fun. I will tell you honestly, I love engaging in those comments because they are open about it being silly. And they don't expect anything, too ambitious. They don't expect that someone will, reinvent the wheel. No, come on. We are there for fun and to see all of this goofy and funny stuff and see how people are making fun.
We could say that it's a certain like comic relief that you don't have to be serious about.
Oh yeah, I would say so. Like
Something.
there are of course serious Eurovision entries, and sometimes even the serious one wins. Like look at 2016 and Jamala 1944. She was actually singing about the genocide that her people, the Tatars from Crimea, experienced. So it's extremely
Deep
important and
and
deep matter, and someone not to be goofy about, but there's also a place for this. There's a place for everything in Eurovision, but I would say that people mostly watch it for the goofy stuff. And you can say when you recap from 10 years ago or 12 years ago, sometimes not even winners are remembered in a way that the runners up were the ones that were silly, goofy, who made something really hilarious, and now we still remember some of them.
But that was not always the case
No, it
because
wasn't.
at its beginnings, I mean, Eurovision was quite serious.
Well, Eurovision started in 1956, and at the beginning it was very conservative. For the longer period of time, I think it was a white tie event, so all of the ladies with long dresses and stuff. And the songs, when you recall it, there's barely any rock and roll. Even in, I know, the 60s, where we already had Jimi Hendrix, or I know the Woodstock Festival and stuff. It was still very conservative, songs about first love and stuff. Very, very conservative is the right word, I would say.
Yeah.
And maybe throughout 70s and 80s there were more like of a dance songs, up to time songs, but still barely any rock and roll. Through 90s we had two winners with word rock. There was Rock Me from Yugoslavia in 1990 and then Rock and Roll Kids, but there's barely any rock and roll. Those are ballads. Like nothing rock about it, just in the name. And I would say that such a turning point was 1998 when Dana International won from Israel, and it was first openly trans person to win this, and this was 1998. These were different times. It was not something to be present in TV or any other wider media. And she made a huge show. She sang about herself. She was a diva. And her name was Dana International. Like, it's also kind of tacky, right? So she totally made her personality out of it. And she had, before the transition, she had experience in drag. So you could totally see this drag energy in it. And it was so refreshing. And then, soon after, I think it was 2003, when Eurovision entered this new audiovisual era, with the stage being literally modern and having all of those visualizations and stuff, when you could really see it gets bigger and better and
lasers,
you name it, lasers, fires, huge like faces being displayed on the huge, like literally anything. And it got even better. We got a literal winner who brought a literal Olympic champion in ice skating and their own ice rink. So the guy would sing and this ice skater, Yevgeny Plushenko, would ice skate around him doing all of these crazy ice skating figures. Like, why not? We had burning piano. Like, the guy was playing and the piano was on fire. I think it was a fake fire, but still, like, the effect was like, wow. We had men doing tricks in a huge hamster wheel. Like, you name it, because the list goes on.
Well, yeah, okay. So you going back to the community, and you said that there are some people that are a little bit too serious about this. I wanted to talk about the darker, maybe toxic side of fandom, because it also exists. Like in any kind of fandom, you will find these people that just go way too crazy, that it's coming out of this playing, joyful atmosphere into something that is a little bit disturbing. Does it happen here? I suppose it does.
But... It does, because first of all, no matter who wins, there will always be some scandals around it, and there will always be people gossiping that it either was staged and it was not the real winner. There's always something. When Måneskin won, there was this huge cocaine scandal when they allegedly were taking drugs, but obviously there was recording of them suddenly moving their head from the table, so it could mean that they were doing something, but this could mean 100 of different things right now. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
like, not a proof. When Loreen won last year, it was, first of all, like, why does she even enter the compete for the second time if she've already won in the past? She should leave some room for others. But second of all, there were a lot of hate because the audience favorite, Karia from Finland, did not win. And there was a lot of people saying that the Sweden winning was really staged because this year, 2024, we have the 50th of anniversary of ABBA winning for Sweden. So of course, like 2024 Eurovision had to be in Sweden just because so ABBA can reunite for their 50th anniversary, and there couldn't be any other place for Eurovision in this year than Sweden. When Ukraine won in 2022, there was a lot of voices that it was actually a political win, which it was. But can you really avoid it? Can you avoid it when you have people voting? No, because people can vote for numerous reasons, and they can vote with their just musical taste, but they can also use their votes to prove political support, right? So that's, you cannot take it from people. You cannot control the reasons they use to vote for this or that candidate. But Eurovision being political, it's another, I would say, hot topic, because since 2022, Russia has been revoked from Eurovision due to Ukrainian war. And in Eurovision community, it was not so obvious that it's the right decision. There were a lot of people saying like, hey, but let's not make this political. And a lot of people saying that Russia always was a strong competitor with really good entries. So it's such a shame for the contest that it doesn't hold Russia anymore. But then it started to reveal that many of previous Russian singers who represented Russia in Eurovision were openly politically active. And this maybe was a place where you didn't see as many comments of like, but these are just artists, like let's not punish the artists, when you saw people like Polina Gagarina, who came second in 2015, where she was like very openly supporting Russian regime on like the regime events, singing alongside Vladimir Putin. So it was very, very open and obvious, and it wasn't like, it was so obvious, right?
Okay.
But this time, this year, it came again with Israel, and many people from fandom questioning whether Israel should or should not enter the competition after we've revoked Russia. Shouldn't be the same be done with Israel? And there are many comments with this kind of conspirational theory, whether EBU, the organization behind Eurovision, is actually muting people booing the Israeli entries. Or is it not? Or is it putting fake crowd cheering when putting the broadcast? There are so many like questions about it. And you know what? Actually, 2 years ago, when Ukraine won, there was a series of, I think, 2 or 3 countries which couldn't connect live, because you have the juries, and each of the countries is having their live 15 seconds. 2 or 3 countries couldn't really connect, and the voices from these countries had to be read out loud by the Eurovision supervisor. And there were voices like, it's actually Russia, messing up with live broadcasts. And I'm not sure whether it was ever proven, but it was so obvious that the year they got banned, they started to mess around with the satellite or whatever signal. I know how it works, but these were the people were commenting about it a lot. So there are hot topics. But I think the question of how deeply should we politically engage and take this factor in Eurovision is such a deep topic that we could not even scratch the surface during this
short conversation.
No, because it's like you would have to take, I know, ethics and political science and sociology and so many different stuff to put it together, and that would make not even a book, but I say 10 books maybe, that you cannot really put those two aside, because they are so closely bonded that it's not possible to really have politics without pop culture and pop culture without politics. It just goes together all the way along.
And I was also wondering whether you follow somebody in particular from Eurovision, someone who struck you as particularly interesting, and if not, then if there are certain people, certain artists that are being particularly followed by the community. someone who
Uh-huh.
just, who is kind of like stands in the crowd, let's say.
Maneskin was absolutely unknown band. And right now they are
Well, I knew it. That's the point. That frankly,
you knew them before
yes,
Eurovision.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you're the only person I know.
I actually, this is actually interesting because one of my Italian friends sent me their video when they were like super young, and she was like, "Oh, this band is amazing! Like all the Italians, I mean, like young Italians or teenagers, they love them." And then I think it was 5 or 6 years later, something like when was the Maneskin won in 2021, right?
Yes,
I was
but
living in
a
Italy back
couple
then.
of years before they took part in X Factor in Italy. This is when they got popular, I think.
I actually heard about them for the first time in 2017 or 2018. So I knew them. And then when I saw them on Instagram, and it's like, are you serious? Are they going on Eurovision? This is crazy. And then they won. And now they're like...
They are international superstars. They are like really going so big. And I think this is the first time in a while when winning Eurovision or even taking part in Eurovision kicked somebody's career that much.
Because frankly speaking, I know ABBA and I know Maneskin.
And Maneskin. Yeah, I think
Is
those are
something...
the biggest names.
Okay.
Because you have a lot of Eurovision winners who are like, where are they now?
Yeah, that was my question, actually.
They are still entering as a guest, as the guest show on Eurovisions, but they are not really that popular outside of Eurovision fandom. Honestly, I don't think, except of Maneskin, I'm not a huge fan, but sometimes I follow what they do. I'm not really following anyone from Eurovision. There is Eurovision me and outside of Eurovision me, and those two are kind of different people with very much different musical taste and everything. But I have my own playlist of Eurovision songs, which are vibing with me to the point I listen to them outside of the Eurovision contest, outside of this context of Eurovision, that I just play them along other songs that I just like and I just listen.
I think we've listened to this list on your birthday party, right?
It's possible.
There were some,
totally possible.
There were some very random songs outside of your taste that were played that night. So for you, Eurovision is basically a time of the year that you can just have fun and be joyful.
Yes.
With no consequences.
No regret.
And that gives you certain freedom, I suppose.
I wouldn't say, because I know that maybe for some people it feels like the only time in the year when they can feel themselves. Because look at the Eurovision and how open it is, for example, about the LGBTQ community. It's the place which is so openly supportive that everyone can show their pride flag or wear a costume with pride colors. It's so openly supportive that I can totally imagine that for many people, it's the only time or the only community where they can reveal their true selves. I wouldn't say that about me, because it's not like I'm hiding this Eurovision self for 350 days a year and then just let it free for one week. It's just the time when I don't have to take everything so serious, when I can let go my own musical taste and like this Euro dance song that I would never ever listen to in my real life. It's actually, making me feel like I want to dance or something. This goofiness, this is what I like.
Okay, so we have being playful, goofy, joyful, which is one thing that always helps you to be just happier in your life. Another thing is to be part of certain community. Although, you don't actually meet these people in real life. But I suppose this is also because it just happens once a year and then you're not involved. But you are part of the community. I mean, you comment on it, you engage, you talk to other Euro mamas, and you feel like there are other people like you.
Yes, this is so fun to see a comment from a total stranger who actually reflects your own opinion or something, or where you can see very similar level of excitement or
Mm-hmm.
commitment. Like people are saying, oh, for example, I know I would put my kid to bed in 10 minutes, but right now my husband is fighting for like 50 minutes, but I don't care because today is the Eurovision day. It's my day. I'm sitting and I'm watching. And people are actually taking this sort of commitment sometimes, not a big one. It doesn't have to be putting all of your money to travel to see the
Mm-hmm.
Eurovision live, but those small commitments because Eurovision is something for them, because it's just something they want to celebrate. It's so fun to watch. I actually really admire it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can, for as you mentioned, I don't meet the people I talk to because those are not deep conversations. We just share comments in the thread for 5 minutes and then we go each other's paths. But I actually used to have a friend in real life who was this sort of important milestone on my own Eurovision story because let's name him Adam. I met him on a university. He was such a Eurovision head. Really, like comparing to myself, he was a real fan. I'm fun-ish person.
Mm-hmm.
He was so engaged and so passionate about it. And sadly, Adam passed away a couple of years ago. And it was this time maybe for me where I engaged in Eurovision much. But I really have this feeling that sometimes I watch Eurovision, I'm like, Adam would enjoy it, or Adam would hate it. Or he
Okay.
was such a fan of Florine. He was so happy when she won in 2012, I guess. And now she won last year, and I couldn't stop myself from thinking, oh, Adam, you would be so happy she won again. She did it again. You would be like all celebrating and all happy about it. So it's also like this feeling I get from time to time.
Okay, so it gives you also some sort of positive nostalgia and like you feel somehow connected to somebody that you can't really talk to anymore,
Yes.
which
Yes.
is also an interesting aspect that I wouldn't expect to come out from something that is so mundane in the end.
It is, yeah, but it is, but I would say it's a positive thing because
Mm-hmm.
when I think about Adam and Eurovision, those are positive things. I'm just like, he would hate it so bad. Or when someone I know he wouldn't like one, I was always like, oh, he would not be able to stand it. He would hate it openly. But I'm having these positive thoughts about like maybe memorizing or celebrating someone who's no longer there. But it's not like the main point for me
Mm-hmm.
to watch Eurovision. I
Yeah.
have like my very own. I watch it with my family, with my husband, and like I make my own Eurovision story.
Yeah,
But
and
Adam is a part of it.
yeah, and I suppose like you're making a party, Eurovision party this year,
A little party. I'm just inviting
a
my
little
parents.
gathering.
We are maybe we'll order some food, and I plan to give away those little scoreboards for everyone so we can put each other's 12 points and compare how we voted. I'm getting too excited about it. I'm sorry.
Are you planning on putting on some costumes or some crazy hats or what? I don't know,
No,
crazy makeup, something like this.
I think they wouldn't come. That would be a step too far for my non-Eurovision heads family. Like
Okay.
I wouldn't mind. And even this year, my parents went to Copenhagen and they went to, I think it was the Museum of Design.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom sent me a picture of this gown with feathers and the sequins. And like it was so big, like another person with all of this colorful stuff. And she just wrote it, Aldona, it's for you. I'd see you on Eurovision in it, wearing this, something like this. So they're aware. And it was totally like Elton John stuff, kind of
Yeah,
costume, this big and colorful. It was
chicken kind of. I
uh,
remember this orange,
do you
white,
know
and
that
yeah.
actually 1 year Ireland was represented by a giant turkey? Turkey like a
Yeah.
bird.
Okay, but wait, you mean like an animal?
Yeah.
Like a proper animal, not someone dressed up
No,
as
no,
a
no, no.
turkey?
It wasn't a real animal. I think those aren't allowed on Eurovision. But it was actually, it was character from a cartoon, and it's something like I would say that resembles maybe a Sesame Street. This
Uh-huh.
kind of character,
Okay.
and it's Dustin the Turkey. That's his name, I guess. Dustin the Turkey actually represented
Okay.
Iceland on Eurovision.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe I will watch it this year because I kind of got like discouraged to watch it. There was too much of talking between one song and the other, and I just stopped watching Eurovision. So
I understand that, But I will tell you that sometimes when I don't have anything to watch, I just play previous year's Eurovision
Mm-hmm.
finals. And what I enjoy the most is not the songs, like I know the songs, right? But I really like to recap the voting and how each country was voting and how the scoreboard was changing and how all of them are sitting like, oh my God, this one has a heart attack. This one's biting the nails, right? And they're all, so sweating. And I love to watch the tension rising, even though I know the winner already because
Yeah.
I'm recapping the old shows. But I just love to recap the emotions of the votes. This is crazy.
Wow, this is fun. Thank you for bringing so much energy, positive energy into this episode. I don't know what you wish to Eurovision people. I wish you a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I hope that, I don't know, that the person that you want to win wins. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say now.
It's not that important, I would
Yeah,
say.
I suppose what's important
Like
is
I
to
have
just
my
play,
bets, I
right?
have my favorites, but I won't cry if they don't win because that's totally not the point. Maybe I'm saying it as a Polish person because Poland never does any good in Eurovision, so I don't have real hopes about it. Sorry to say that. But I don't really feel like it matters to me who wins. It's more about chasing the rabbit, right?
It's about the path that
Yeah.
leads you
Yeah. Totally.
to it. Okay, thank you a lot. And thank you everyone for listening. And if you're watching Eurovision, if you're Eurovision fans, have fun and be just joyful about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say there is no such thing as silly passion or something you're too old for. Come on, I'm a 30 years old mama who's watching Eurovision like crazy and like I sound like a nerd. I'm fine with this. You don't have to feel cringe or be ashamed. If something genuinely makes you happy, go for it.
Thank you again and bye.